And hello, everyone. Happy Monday to you. Wave meteorologist Brian Good. Welcome to Storm Talk on this 15th of July, halfway through the month, really beyond halfway through the season of summer here, right? Moving along fast. And before you know, we'll be talking about, fall color, pumpkin spice in every food, including, macaroni and cheese, some new item they'll have out. I'm sure that headline will be coming down the road. But today, it's all about the heat. And as we into later on tonight, it will all be about the thunderstorm. So I really want you guys to pay attention to the setup the next couple of days, because some of this will be day and night that we're talking about for some fairly loud thunderstorms, especially to be rolling through. Heavy rain will be a threat. And then the good news about this boundary and this front that's going to give us all this rain is that we will get a nice little break for at least a few days once it does sink off to the south. So we'll get to more of that here in just a second. Ashley, I already see you in there. Good morning to you. Let's see. Kim's like, hey, I'm loving the great pool weather. I would agree. If I had a pool, I would be very excited. Instead, I just have a koi pond, and trust me, you don't want to get in that. Hello, Kevin. Good morning to you. Good morning to Karen as well. And Jeremy, good morning. You guys can always comment on our social media pages, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube is the other one as well. Hopefully, we'll add more here soon, including even those of you that are big gamers out there and play Twitch. We are on there at least streaming at the moment. Okay, so let's get into everything in a step-by-step process. As always, I like to begin with the setup now, and then we'll work our way backwards, if you will. Outside at the moment, beautiful, more hazy than anything because we have some debris clouds from an MCS or a complex of storms that came through the Midwest, the Ohio Valley during the overnight hours. The leftovers of that still just kind of drifting over us right now. And hold on one second. I look really short, don't I? That gives me a complex. Hold on, let me try to fix that. I think this is probably set on Myra and Sari's height. If I had to guess, it's probably Myra. She's not going to watch, so she won't know. And no one tweet her and tell her either. Okay, let me adjust that for a second. I feel like I'm like staying on the box here with you all, so my apologies. All right, so the heats. There we go. See, isn't that much better? The magic of TV, already feeling taller. It's 83 degrees in Louisville right now. The humidity is up there, already creating a small heat index that we got into wave country at the moment. So today, I do think, based on what I'm about to tell you for tomorrow, I do think today will likely be the hottest of the 10-day, not of the year. I'm not ready to say that, but I think of the 10-day, I think today will likely be it. Now, you're looking at the dew point map, I'm like, well, that's a weird-looking amount of colors. You're right. Pay attention to the warmer colors, like the gold and the red and orange colors. That indicates the level of the humidity. So you get into the red, you're getting into the miserable category. I know there's a bit of a punch right there into Indiana, where it's like, wait a minute, some kind of weird oasis going on. There's a sensor that is bad in Clark County, Indiana. So because of that, you're seeing a bit of a skewing. That's out of our control to fix that, but you'll see it probably on a few maps today and probably at different stations, to be honest. So the heat index looks weird too, but look at the numbers because that is valid. With heat index in Louisville already getting close to 90, already in the 90s for heat index as you head toward Marion County. Okay, so I mentioned the debris clouds from the morning complex of storms. There it is, the tail of it right there across the Ohio River, dragging right along the river and I-64. There is a low-end chance that that boundary that you see could pop another 1 to 2 storms this afternoon once the heating hits that. Now, a lot of the data is aggressive with that idea, but we've seen the models really just underplay the past several days on the setups where you get these thunderstorms around without much of a boundary to work with. So around here, especially with Ohio River Valley the way it is, I think you have to keep a storm chance in this kind of a setup, and that is our plan. So don't be surprised if isolated thunderstorms pop later on today. Most of you will just stay hot and dry. You almost really would want a thunderstorm in a setup like today because we're looking at upper 90s with that heat index about 104, 105 at times today. So right up against the heat advisory, right up against it. But while we are dealing with our small storm chance in the heat here locally today, our friends in Northwest are gearing up for what looks to be another MCS already developing into the Twin Cities. Once it gets its act together, it will just race across the I-70 corridor, especially for this afternoon. And that's the reason why they do have the outlook out for severe weather. So there's the current radar without all of the cloud cover on. So you can see the individual waves. Here's the severe risk. It's an enhanced actually into eastern areas of Iowa all the way into Chicagoland, into Indianapolis. And these do feed on higher moisture levels to the south. And your mind's going to play a bit of a trick here because the core of the wind belt, the driver in the seat for this complex of storms, a mesoscale convective system or MCS. We've said these terms a few times, but they're basically just big blobs of thunderstorms, very heavy rain. You can get straight line of winds is probably number one. And at times right in the little bend of the actual complex because they usually take on a backwards C shape to them. And at the very top of the letter C, you can get spinning. And sometimes at the bottom of the letter C as well, you can get spinning, and there's where your tornado threat would come in. But that is usually very isolated and brief. That threat overall is going to stay north of us today. The wind belt is dominant from Iowa to Pennsylvania. So we know that the strongest of winds, and I'm talking hurricane force winds, will be more likely to aim straight along I-70. Now, remember, as I've talked about these systems before, it's almost like Pac-Man. They love to eat moisture. So while the wind field is in that direction, they will create the appearance on a radar of turning toward Louisville. It will look that way to you on the radar. And you're like, wait a minute, something's wrong. These things are turning. They're not going straight to Pennsylvania. And it's kind of a mind trick that the weather does. Must be some kind of a Jedi thing. Anyway, the main portion of the wind is going to aim into areas of Indiana and to Ohio and Pennsylvania, but there will be a tail to it that will develop, and that will develop and sink toward the Ohio River as you're asleep for tonight. This is a long process. This is a good 24 hours I'm talking about here that all this is going to happen. So no doubt we're going to get the tamer version of this whole thing. But for areas to the north, it's going to be quite wild tonight. I'm sure by the time you watch even Kevin on the 11 o'clock news, I'm sure he'll be showing you a line of storms causing a lot of problems with high winds, severe thunderstorm warnings, even a few tornado warnings are out into the upper Midwest. But at that time, we should start to see the drop heading to the south. The moisture level is indeed south, and they will do just that with the Pac-Man idea. They will build southbound. The majority of this is a straight line wind threat, as I mentioned. Tornado threat is there, but all that is not within wave country they're worried about. I think once the tail portion of that does drift down, we will then have to track not only the chance to maybe get a couple warnings in the area, but perhaps some flash flooding because they are now going to be dealing with a tilted setup into areas of Iowa and to Ohio, eventually in Pennsylvania. The whole thing will just tilt on its side and becomes more east-west. And you guys know anytime we talk about an east-west setup along I-64, whether it's the river or along the parkways, doesn't matter. Wherever it's an east-west type of flow, that is a flash flooding setup. You can get some strong storms. You can get some severe thunderstorm warnings, yes. But more often than not, that setup screams flash flooding potential because you get a repeated rounds of showers and storms and very little break in between. That potential I see growing more so as we head into later into Tuesday night into Wednesday, the way it's looking now. All right, so that's the severe outlook for tomorrow. It's a marginal, mainly because the two wind belts that are responsible for the core of the MCSs separate. The one that kicks up the severe today actually stays into Pennsylvania, keeps them aggravated there. A new one develops there into Kansas. All we have is really, as far as a trigger for us locally, will be just moisture and a weak front draped into the area. That is, again, not a good setup at all. You got a very weak wind flow, a lot of fuel around. Thunderstorms just play bumper cars off each other, but they can repeat themselves over and over and over, and you end up with some really high rainfall amounts. So be aware of that. So looking at Futurecast, this shows out later today. The heat, again, is the big story with highs into the 90s. Can't rule out 1 or 2 storms that could form. That is certainly possible. Here comes the bad boy rolling in tonight across Chicagoland, aiming more so, again, toward Ohio. It gives you that illusion that it's trying to sink down to the south toward the Ohio River. And then once that happens, that's when we run into some showers and some thunderstorms near the Ohio River that we'll have to watch out as well coming through. Hold on one second, guys. Myra said I had a hair out of place, so I was just checking with Myra real quick. All right. So as we head into really Tuesday, I think Tuesday is going to be cloudy to start off with. I don't think we're going to get a lot of heating tomorrow just because of those thunderstorms from tonight. They'll be over the area. I don't think we're going to have a lot of rain. I think we're just going to stay cloudy for a while. This typically happens. You become overcast. The clouds do thin, but it takes some time. That amount of thinning will determine how hot we get tomorrow. I did shave off a few degrees on temperature because I think the clouds may linger longer than expected. But once we get into Tuesday night, into Wednesday, again, the boundary is there. Storms love that. And then they just begin to play the bumper car action. They develop randomly in waves all across the I-64 corridor. This will continue into Wednesday as well, although Wednesday, there may be so much rain going on late Tuesday night and early Wednesday that Wednesday daytime may see more quiet time than active weather. That's the hope, and that's the trend. But still, a tremendous amount of rain could fall out of this before finally it will sink to the south as we head into Thursday, although then it becomes the problem for Georgia and the Carolinas and Tennessee, where their boundary is going to get stuck over them with nonstop, very heavy rain that will last all the way through the weekend. It gives us a break, but there are signs that it wants to get back north again, as you see there about a week from today. It gets back into our area and may cause some problems with heavy rain for next week. All right, here's a quick look at your 10-day, and then I'll get some of your quick questions, and then I got to run. But you get the idea that we've got high rain chances coming our way as we head into the middle portion of the week. Nice little break, and then the weekend, we'll keep it quiet for now, and we'll just see what happens next week if that boundary in Georgia comes back north. If it does, it is going to be a long week of stormy weather next week. So try to get some of that yard work done if you can in these little breaks that we're getting. All right, everyone good? Let's see. Is it JW? Yeah, JW. See, I'm staying inside today, too hot. I don't disagree. Let's see. Actually, I wasn't able to win the contest. We all be at the State Fair this year. I don't know yet on the fair. There will be tickets you can buy, Ashley, for the Twisters movie on Wednesday. I'm not sure how many you have left. You're going to have to check online, but you can buy tickets. But as far as the contest part, that is over. Everyone's been notified. So, all right, guys, I'm going to run. You guys are awesome. Pretty self-explanatory setup here. Just be careful with the heat today and be weather aware when it comes to the storm chances, especially later Tuesday into Wednesday. And we'll do what we can to keep you updated as we get into the next 24 hours. In fact, I'll have an update coming up today on Wave News at midday, 11 o'clock. See you then.